Hello, my name is Tim Lowe. Welcome to Smartedge. We're in a beautiful English country garden in Sussex today, and we're going to show you exactly how to lay Smartedge. I've been laying Smartedge for 9 years now and have come across several problems, and the purpose of this video is to help people overcome any of these problems and hopefully make your life very easy to install this product, which works absolutely perfectly if properly installed. We've come to this particular site because I've been working here myself for about 7 years or more, and I have installed Smartedge in 2 locations here, which has been in now I think for about three years or something like that anyway, and we can have a look at that later and you can see what kind of result we've achieved. So let's now have a look at this border here. It does have a few problems associated with it, which is the exact reason why we've chosen this border, and let's take a closer look. So here we are. I've prepared about 3/4 of this border earlier on today because it's been a little bit difficult for a couple of reasons. First of all, we're in the middle of August and it's been very hot, and this soil is very heavy in clay and it's been very hard. So I use an axe at the end. I'll show you exactly what I've done with this area here, which I haven't actually prepared yet, but as you can see, I've started to cut the border. I've used a small piece of Smartedge which I've cut off the roll to gauge the depth, and as you go around, as long as you make sure that you're digging below, just slightly below this, it will make actually slotting the Smartedge in much easier, because you don't want to be banging it, you just want to drop it in place. So it's very important that you cut down to just below that depth. This is the trowel that I always use for laying Smartedge because it's very thin and you don't want to be taking out more soil than you actually need to. In this particular border there are plants here, so it isn't possible to actually just, you know, dump the soil up and then drop it back. So I've had to dig the soil out and put it in a barrow, and when we put the Smartedge in, we can then just backfill it with the soil which is in the barrow. We've got a couple of little problems here. We've got a tree root around the other side and we've got a smaller root there. There's 2 ways of overcoming that. In this particular area, because this tree is dead, I could just chop it. I might even do that, but we'll have a look at that when we get there. I'm just going to show you exactly how I've achieved this with this short piece that I have left here, just around there. The only tools that I've used is the half moon edger, this trowel and the axe. What I've done as well, if you look at the actual Smartedge that I've laid out, you'll notice that all of the A-frames have started to go into their position of memory. And when this product is manufactured, there's a memory which is set into the A-frames, so you can see that there's a downward gripping tendency. So when you actually lay it flat, you can see that they will grip onto the grass. So that's why you don't have to actually pin every single A-frame. These ones at the end, the reason these are popping up is because that's literally the end of the reel where it's cut off, so I won't actually be using that piece. And this is ready to lay. So I'll just cut this edge and then just finally prepare it and then we can get on to laying it. So with the half moon edger, I'll just continue around the circle. As you go around, just gently push it forward. Try to go in as vertical as you can, or just pop around here and get back to where we started from. So now we've got the edge, just need to dig out a bit more and make sure that we've got it to the proper depth. Right, so with my little depth meter, we'll just go around, taking out more soil. As you can see, it's very dry here at this time of year. The ideal time to lay Smartedge is in like the spring and autumn, really, when the ground is a lot softer. It does make life a lot easier, but you can lay it any time, really. It's not a problem, it just takes a bit longer. And again, it's very dry down here, so I'm going to use the axe just to chip away. And also, this is very good for making sure that you've got a vertical edge. The channel is now cut and prepared. I'm just going to whiz around with the mower just to get a nice surface to make sure that you get a good bind when you lay the Smartedge. So I'm just going to fire up the mower and run round and tidy it up. And finally, I'm just going to finish it off with a simple pair of hand shears. This is just to ensure that you get a really nice grip on the edge to get it going. Right, we're just coming around to the final part. Just getting this edge nice and tight so you can get a good bind and a good installation. The tidier it is when you start, the better result you're going to get. Might take a little bit longer, but it's definitely worth doing. So you can then butt the Smartedge right up to the edge, get the A-frames on the top, nicely bedded in, and you'll get a good result. Right, I've just roughly put the Smartedge into position, ready for dropping into the channel. So let's do that. I'm starting off in this particular area because we've got a bit of a root happening down there. And as you drop it in, as you can see, the A-frames have already got into their correct position. Just go around, drop it in, so we can make sure that we've got the right length, and then we can just do the join, which I'll get on to later, and just simply overlap it and then start pinning and backfilling. I've got a 10-metre roll here, which is far more than we actually need for this area, but I think it was a little bit more than 5 metres. We have here a bit of a nasty root going on, so we're going to have to address that when we get to it. But for now I'm just going to drop it over the top. Because we're doing a circle here, you're going to have to join it. It's very, very easy to join Smartedge. All you do, I mean, it doesn't have to be in a circle, any shape you do, you literally just overlap it. I normally overlap it by 3 A-frames, and you just don't even see the join because it's black. You just don't see it, and that just ensures that it's fully bound in and it's fully supported all the way around. But we'll show that in more detail when we get to it at the end. But as I say, to join it, you just simply overlap it. It's very simple. So I'm going to give myself a bit of excess. So I'm just going to get a pair of scissors and chop off the bit that I don't need. Right, I'm giving myself plenty of overlap here. As we go round, obviously this is going to tighten up, but I just want to make sure that I've got enough, but obviously get the excess out of the way to make it easier to work. Again, with a strong pair of scissors, it's easy to cut. Just cut through that between the A-frames. So what we have here is a pretty large root which is quite close to the surface. Because this tree is dead anyway, I could just chop it off or chainsaw it away, but for the purposes of the video, I'd just like to show you, we'll pretend that this tree is real, and you obviously don't want to be cutting a root like that from a real tree because you'll probably kill it. So I'll just show you how we get around this problem. You just offer the Smartedge up to it, and we can see that we're basically looking at 1, 2, 3, basically 3 of the A-frame bottom spiky parts, and it's quite close to the top. So what we're going to do, we're just going to cut up here and cut it across there, and then that will drop in over that and it will slot into place. So let's just do that now. And it's quite easy to cut. It is quite close to the surface, that bit. So need to go quite high up. I'm going to need to go a bit higher, but just try and get some of it out of the way for now. Trying to get this at a good angle. See where we are with that for now. Yeah, I think I need to take off a little bit more. You don't have to be terribly accurate with this because obviously it's going to be covered up anyway once we put the soil back. Right, yeah, so that should enable us to go over that. So as you can see, we've just cut a piece out of there, and that will just sit over the top, and then we can just crack around it. We've got a similar problem on the other side over there. It's a much smaller one, so I'll just pop round and do, in fact I'll do that when we get to it, because we're going to be tightening up as we go round. So let's start filling in and pinning it. Having got to this problem area, having cut round it, the logical place to start pinning would be here. Otherwise, as it tightens as you go around, you might find that the slot that you've cut doesn't actually fit the place. So we're going to start here. So here we have some pins. I've just pulled a few off. They come in racks of 30. You can buy additional pins if you find that you're using a lot of them. You literally just pop them in at the end of the A-frames. Because this ground is rock hard at the moment, I think I might have to bang them in, but normally you can just pop them in with your finger. And you just pop that in. I'm going to do every second one because we're doing a circle here, so it isn't going to be necessary to pin every single one. God, this ground is hard. I'll just show you this area here, because obviously this pin is not going to go into that root. Just get a pair of secateurs, judge what it is, just pop it off. It will still grip because you have these little grooves in there, and it will just help to keep it in place until the grass goes through. We'll pin all three of these areas just to make it extra secure, because obviously we've cut away a lot of the base there, so it would be a good idea just to make sure this area is nicely pinned. Okay, I've just been pinning in this short area here. Just pop that one in, give it a tap down with the mallet, and because I had to take the soil out into a barrow, I've just put some of it back in here. So what we need to do now, just to make sure it's nicely bedded in, is return the soil. I could just pour it in, but at least if I do it this way you get the idea. What I generally do, just to make sure it's nicely bedded in, with the edge of the mallet, just give it a good stomping, and you can make sure that the Smartedge, as you can see there, is firmly up against the edge. That's not going to be going anywhere. Once we've completed this, we'll perhaps come back and do another few still shots or something when it's all in place, because it's been so dry. The grass isn't really growing overly well at the moment, so nothing's really looking at its best, but I think you get the idea here what's going on. Again, a little tip that you can do actually, because this root that's coming through here, I suspect there's probably something going off around there, which is why I can't get this pin in. If you do have a nail handy, if you do find an area where there's some kind of obstruction underneath, you can, oh yeah, in fact, you can hear that I'm banging into wood. So there's clearly something under the ground there. I mean, the grass would grow through this and just hold it down anyway, but if you wanted to be sort of, ultra tidy, you could just take a pin, just cut it a bit shorter, having made a bit of a pilot hole with the nail, just tap that in, and then once the grass grows through, because this biomechanical design, once the grass goes through these A-frames, it literally draws it into the root system of the grass. So this becomes an integral part of the actual lawn itself. So once that's happened, again, it depends what time of year you're laying it and what the weather conditions are, whether you can be asked to water it and all kinds of things. But once the grass grows through, this isn't going to move anyway, and the pins become superfluous then, but you only use the pins really when you're initially laying it, because it obviously holds it in place until the biomechanics start to work. But anyway, I'm just going to go around and do the rest of this, and then we can have a look at it when it's all done. Right, so that's the last of the pins in. So this is what Smartedge looks like when it's initially laid. It's the A-frames are still visible obviously at the moment, but as the biomechanics start working, the grass grows through the A-frames, pulls it into the roots of the lawn, and that will disappear. And as far as the Smartedge A-frames are concerned, you won't see them. And because it's black, you barely even notice this anyway. And we've got some Smartedge that we laid a few years ago in a few different areas here, so we're going to go and take a look at that, and you can see what kind of result you can expect. This is one of the areas in this garden where we've laid Smartedge before. It's basically an area that we created to hide the oil tank. It's not regularly maintained here, you know, like the formal areas. It's basically meadow. It normally just gets a whiz over with the ride on. The edges are never clipped or anything, and I'd just like to show you with the Smartedge in here, if I just run the mower down there, and in a couple of minutes we can turn this edge into a really smart edge. And this has been in, as I say, for I think about 3 years now. Right, so let's start the mower and see how Smartedge looks after 3 years. Right, so we're just going to finish it off with the hand shears. We didn't go all the way around when I originally did this. I think we started somewhere here. So we literally just go along. Trim off the edge. There you go, it's taken no time at all, and you've got a great edge still there after 3 years. There's a couple of little bits here which I've just noticed where, again, because we've got clay soil here, it does dry out a bit, and I'll just quickly show you what to do if you end up with a little area like this where the soil's dried out and you've got a bit of a gap. I've got here in this bucket just some topsoil and grass seed, and all you do, just take a little bit in your hand, drop it in like that, rub it in with the heel of your palm, give it a little tap down. And then that'll just grow through and bind in with the rest of it. It's just simply grass seed mixed with topsoil, and you can just pop round and any little gaps that might appear depending on what type of soil you have and other factors, you can just use this technique and in no time at all that will just be filled in. I've done it loads of times and it works great. So I think you can see from here that in no time at all we still have a really smart edge from Smartedge.